60-foot buzzer beater, Trey Holloman. One, have you ever experienced anything like that as a coach? And two, what are you thinking when you were watching that game, when that ball's in the air? Are you like, yeah, that thing's good? You're like, all right, we got 5 more minutes of Michigan State and Maryland in that environment in College Park.
I think the only thing that I've ever seen close to that is when Chandler Parsons hit that one against NC State, back in 2008, 9, whatever that year was, when Chandler made it from the opposite free throw line. He throws it in, and Coach Donovan's only reaction was just to put his hands up in the air, right? Like, it was like, just what else do you do, like, in that situation? I think it solidifies Michigan State as the best team in the league. I do. This Big Ten season has been, we can't figure out who's the best team in the Big Ten. It has been, in the beginning of the season, it's like we think it's Illinois, and then it shifts, and maybe it's Michigan. Then it shifts. Maybe it's Purdue, and then it shifts. Maybe it's Wisconsin, and maybe it still is Wisconsin. But for Michigan State to go into that environment and find a way to win that game, to me, just solidifies them as they're the best team in the league. And for Tom Izzo to do this and do it the way he's doing it at this level, and Maryland's really good. I mean, they may have the best starting 5 in the Big Ten. And, today, no production off the bench at all from their bench. But that's just they're having a miraculous season, for Michigan State. So, but when that ball leaves the hands, you're thinking you're going to overtime. And when it goes in, you just got to tip your cap. You have to tip your cap because both teams fought and played a high-level basketball game.
Jeff?
I mean, listen, Michigan State's defense was tremendous up until maybe the final, couple possessions for Maryland. But to go in there and win, in College Park is not easy. You could see it. Those fans were hyped up. Maryland's a really good team. And Michigan State's just doing it with toughness and rebounding and not shooting threes. It's kind of like old school Izzo, gone back to it a little bit and playing the way he wants them to play. And it's power in numbers. Obviously, Jace Richardson has come through here over the last couple of weeks and turned himself into a star of sorts. But it's still power in numbers with this team and defense, rebounding, toughness.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I kind of took away from today, right? Like, I think that there was a little bit of it's almost like a war of attrition right now when you're playing Michigan State this late in the season. Maryland, they want to basically play 5 guys. They'll go 8 deep. 6 and 7 don't play all that much. 8 doesn't really play at all. They basically want to go with their starting 5, right? And with Michigan, Tom Izzo, we're going to hear from him here in just a minute. He was very, very proud of the fact that this was the 17th game this season where every single one of the 10 guys that plays for Michigan scored. And I think the only guy that wasn't in double figures for minutes was Frankie Fiddler. And to a point, do you think, McCall, that depth can be a little bit overrated when you get to the tournament? Like, I'd rather have the best 7 than the best 10. But there is a point where when you get this late in the year, to have this many fresh bodies and this many bodies that aren't really worn down, I do think is something that has an impact. And it's something that the way that Tom Izzo plays, you can see that come through in some of these it's not a coincidence. I don't think they've been able to really just run teams off the floor in the second half in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they have balance. Like, to think that they're, number 1 in the Big Ten in scoring with only one guy averaging double figures, that to me is so impressive. They have balance. And they're deep. And that's the problem, Maryland. I mean, those 5 guys, when they go to their bench, you don't know what you're going to get. And for this Michigan State team, the balance that they have, the unselfishness that they be able to that they play with, and Jace Richardson coming into his own. I mean, we're talking about a guy right now that was not a McDonald's All-American. Unbelievable expectations coming through the who his dad is. And he's living up to those. He's exceeding those expectations. When you think about it, I mean, it is so impressive. And he plays with just this level of passion and enthusiasm, which if you're Tom Izzo, that's exactly what you want to see. But this team, to me, doesn't play the game entitled at all. They don't play entitled. They're not like, hey, look, you know what's my NIL? What am I getting? What am I getting from all this? They don't play that way. And Tom Izzo constructed this roster the way that, hey, man, these guys are hungry and they're unselfish and they're connected and they play the game of basketball the right way. And that's why they're winning. And that's why they're winning at such a high level when you think about it, right? Like they're not a bunch of selfish guys. They're like, what am I getting out of this? No, they're hungry and they embody everything that their head coach is about. And to me, that's why they're winning. And that's why, you know, they're at the top of the Big Ten and have a chance to win a Big Ten regular season championship.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Jeff,
Well,
go ahead.
One more thing on that. And Xavier
Nice hat
Booker's
change.
a great
Hat change.
example. Xavier Booker is a great example of this. You know, came in as arguably the highest rated recruit, maybe in Izzo Michigan State history. Right, barely played last year, wasn't ready. Comes back this year, and you think he's going to make some huge miraculous jump and go to the NBA. And he's been inconsistent, but again, he hasn't complained at all. He's bought into it, and that just says a lot about this culture in today's college basketball. Like, it is so hard to do, but Tom Izzo has found a way to recruit the right guys for him. Not the most talented team in the world, but again, the right guys for him. Play together, play harder than everybody else, play the right way, again, in his system for his coaching style.
Yeah, and the one thing I will really give him credit for is there were a lot of us, myself included, Jeff. I don't know where you stood on this, but I was critical of Tom Izzo for his decision to not go into the portal more than he did. He got Shimon Zapala and he got Frankie Fiddler out of the portal, right, this year. But it wasn't like he went in there and he really went after some of the things that he was missing in terms of maybe a 5-man. But he trusted Jackson Kohler. He knew what he had in guys like Carson Cooper. He knew that those guys could do the job that he expected out of them, and they've been able to do it. And I think you got to give him a ton of credit for not bowing to the masses, right? Not giving in to what other people were trying to tell him to do and maybe going against what he believes is the best way for him to win, and it's paid off, man. They, like you said, McCall, they are currently in first place in the Big Ten. I think you can make a very strong argument that they are the best bet in the Big Ten to make a run in the NCAA tournament. And